Hi, it's Pat Gillis here. And last week we were talking a little bit about the trials and tribulations of keeping horses at home. And it got me thinking a little bit about an experience I had a number of years back. So I had a friend and she worked at a breeding facility. And while I'd had some experience with stallions on the other end, I'd never been there to see the final result, so to speak. So she gave me a call to let me know that one of the mares was about to give birth, and I was so excited. I drove up there, and so I caught it right from the beginning, and I'm watching this progress, and I said, I was just mortified. I said to her, "Oh my gosh, aren't you going to call the vet?" And she said, "No, this is actually going really well." And it was at that point that I sort of came to a recognition of the profound deepness of my ignorance about this, that I had no idea. And I remember thinking to myself, I will never have a horse born on my property until I learn a lot more about this, because I haven't got a clue. And it got me thinking about somebody I knew years ago, and she had a horse at home. She used to ride with us for a very short amount of time and then decided to just sort of jump right in and buy a horse and keep it at home. And we gave her some advice just to kind of give her a heads up on that kind of stuff, but she was pretty keen. So I hadn't heard from her for, gosh, probably 10 years, and she called me one day just to she asked me, "Can I just ask you a question?" She said, "My horse is lying down all the time." And she said, "I think he's got really bad thrush. What do you recommend that I do for him?" So I thought, that's a bit odd. First of all, I haven't heard from you for ages. And secondly, I don't think thrush, unless it's really bad, would make the horse lie down. So I said, "Is there any other thing that you could tell me about him?" Because she's fairly far away, and I was just trying to get a grasp of it over the phone. And she says, "Well, I said, does he ever stand up?" And she goes, "Well, he does. But when he does stand up, he sort of leans back, and sort of almost like he's trying to sit down. And then he just lies down again." I thought, oh my gosh. So, of course, any of you guys who know horses will know exactly what the problem was, that the horse had foundered. It had nothing to do with thrush. I will put a link on the screen for our video about laminitis so that you'll know what it is that we're talking about. But it can be quite fatal, for horses, and certainly career-threatening. At any rate, so I told her, "You got to get on the phone, call your vet." And it turned out the poor thing had foundered, of course, which is, pretty obvious once you hear the symptoms. I guess my point is that if you're going to keep horses at home, it really requires that we learn enough about horses that we can be their advocate, right? Like, no one is coming, like if you're keeping a horse in a boarding operation, hopefully the barn manager knows a little bit about horses and can keep an eye on the welfare of your horse. But it's so important to know what to notice with horses and to see the warning signs if there's something that's going wrong. I mean, that was a pretty obvious one, but there's other ones that can happen with horses too that we want to just learn a little bit about them before we take them on. I mean, I always tell people I wouldn't keep iguanas at home because I have no idea how to tell if an iguana is happy, sick, sad, whatever, So you really want to think you're their advocate if you're having a horse at home, so you really want to learn a little bit about them. Anyway, that's it for this week. We will talk to you next time, and remember to thank your horse. Talk to you soon.